Gangalila looks like she has something to say.
If nobody says anything, I'm just going with what's going on over here is like, what is a good way for good Vaishnav to go and face emotional overwhelm?
What is a good way to face being emotionally overwhelmed?
Something like that, yes.
Right. Well, I mean, sometimes these things are just beyond our control, right? Because we're so much under the influence, right, of worldly conceptions, worldly attachment. So we can't always control it. And I would say that, first of all, having this is where like a life of sadhana comes in to our aid, right? Where we, and this is also one meaning of dharma. Actually the English word for firm, the root of it, it's the same, it's the word for dharma, the root word for dharma in Sanskrit. So this is one idea of dharma, is something that holds us firm, right? And even though the mind, material energies, impulses, right, they may try to drag us in different directions, dharma is something that helps to keep us in place, like stay on track, right? And so in the same way, we may get spun around and pulled in different directions emotionally, mentally, but we have some life of regulated practice that we try to hold on to, and we continue, right? Some days we may feel inspired, sometimes we may feel uninspired, sometimes our minds may be in a million and one different directions, but we continue, right, with whatever our practice may be, chanting certain number of rounds at a certain time of day, waking at a certain time, reading something, watching something, hearing something, right? And that's something that helps us to stay on track, right? That yes, our mind will go off in different directions. We cannot always control that. It's not that there's a quick fix for that. That's just something that's going to play out, right? But I was thinking recently this analogy, like when you, like on YouTube, for example, when you watch certain videos on YouTube, then the algorithm will start to recommend like other similar videos to you, and that may go on for some time until you just stop watching those types of videos completely, right? So like in the same way, because of our previous actions and previous ways that we've responded to situations, previous experience, we have all these imprints and different ways of reacting to the environment, right? This is in one word, these are different types of ego, right? And so because of, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gives that analogy of the black box, right? And so, that is on airplanes and stuff, right? That's keeping a record of everything. So we have all these blueprints in our system that are programming us to respond in different ways to different situations, right? Different situations in the environment, they come and threaten our particular what's the word, our particular version of egoism, let's say, our curated, right, our curated egoic mentality. It's been crafted, right, over so many lifetimes. And then because it's actually artificial, because it's not actually in line, in harmony with the actual reality, then it's frequently under threat from the flow of the environment, right? And then we're programmed to respond in different ways. It's like a type of defense mechanism, like our egoistic defense mechanism reacting, right? Oh, this doesn't fit in with my particular version of me being at the center of the universe, right? And so we have different ways of reacting, and it's a type of like victim mentality, really. All just different versions of egoism, right? Egoic mentality. And so but what we can't really control that, right, to a large extent, because we watched all those, it's like on the YouTube, right? We watched all those videos, and so we're going to keep getting those suggestions, right? I watched one video on the latest iPhone, and now I'm going to get all these suggestions for the next few months on iPhones, right? So like that, our mental system is going to have different ways of reacting to the environment, and we can't really control it in the beginning, but what we can do is recognize that this is the plane of ego, that this is not the true I, right? This is a particular egotistical way, of a self-centered way, and ultimately, unhealthy, unwholesome, disconnected way of responding to the environment. And so all we can do really is just try and detach ourselves a little bit from that mental stream and recognize that that's what it is. It's just a mental stream, and just let it play out, right? Different situations may come that make us angry, right? Or we feel hurt. We were reading Loving Search for the Lost Servant last night, and there's this, it's one of the early chapters where Srila Sridhar Maharaj, she's speaking about this important verse, Tate Nukampam Susamik Shamano, right? Where it's Bhagavatam verse, right? Telling us that we must see everything in the environment is grace, actually. That we are responsible, first of all. And ultimately, it is all the Lord's grace coming to help us, right? And then there's this one line of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he says, the Lord has not given permission to anyone to harm us. No one can actually harm us. And any vision of someone harming us, this is a false vision. Why are we're actually empowering that person by seeing them as an aggressor and by seeing ourselves as a victim. We're actually giving them power, right? Rather than taking full responsibility for ourselves and seeing how this is all part of some bigger movement, right? Which is ultimately coming to correct us. And that person's just a little side character. Why are we trying to make them the main character? Why are we giving them the power, right? So yeah, we have different ways of reacting, but we have mentally, but we have to control our impulses and not act on those impulses, not act on those mental reactions. Because what happens if we do that is we're just perpetuating the whole cycle. Right, that whole particular situation which is coming to us, we're just going to perpetuate it if we respond according to our previous programming, right? So we have to just let that whole mental stream play out, try and detach ourselves, and just let it play out as it's going to. We may not be able to stop it, right? The emotion, the pain, or whatever it may be, it may just be so great that we're not able to stop it. And, we don't need to artificially, deny the feelings that we have, right? We can just acknowledge that we have them, just don't act on them, and recognize that it's a lower level response, right? And so just let it pass. Sometimes you just have to let something pass, right? And wait. We're in the waiting game. We want to leave space for the Lord's mercy. Actually, this is the most important thing in our lives, that we want to always situate ourselves in a position to be able to receive the mercy of the Lord, right? And if we're in a mentality of reacting and blaming against the environment, then we're shutting off the channel of mercy, actually. But if we recognize, oh, actually, whatever negativity I'm experiencing is because of my own previous actions, it's because of my own misconceptions about the environment and myself, right? And we embrace that in a humble attitude and pray to the Lord, please give me your mercy so I can have proper vision. Please give me your mercy so I can recognize the grace that's actually in this moment. You know, please give me your mercy so I can move forward in a real way. We want to make spiritual progress, not material progress. So I think that's the key thing to remember, right? That we need the Lord's mercy. Many things in our lives may come and go, but what is it that what we really need and want to hold on to? The mercy of the Lord. Our living situation, that is not always under our control. Different circumstances not under our control, right? But the main factor is that we need the Lord's mercy and having confidence in the Lord's protection, right? That is one of the 6 limbs of surrender. Akshishyatiti Vishwaso, having confidence in the Lord's protection. That whatever happens, the Lord is there. He will take care of me. So, you know, at the moment, our particular version of mental programming is kind of like at the forefront. And spiritual vision tends to be a bit more in the background, a bit more hazy, right? Something we often have to theoretically remind ourselves, right? And, you know, that's just the way things are at present because of our set of conditioning. But we're slowly trying to make that transition. And we can do that by trying to be more of an observer of our mental state, of our reactions to the environment, trying to detach and trying to, we can also capitalize on these moments by feeling our helplessness, embracing our helplessness. And we can ask ourselves, what is it that I actually want, ultimately? What is it that I actually need ultimately? And how much faith do I have in these higher principles? Right? All of these challenging situations, they give us the opportunity to, question ourselves and go a little deeper, right? How deep rooted is my faith actually? Am I just a fair weather friend to Krishna consciousness, to my guru? Or is this all, like how close is this relationship gonna be? So let me try to take advantage of the challenges that I face to go deeper in my Krishna consciousness, make my Krishna consciousness more deep rooted, more real. Let me seek out the shelter of the Lord and try to see how the Lord's, we're also in where we were reading yesterday, Loving Search, there's that beautiful expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he says, if we look behind the screen, we will see the smiling face of Krishna. We should not be bewildered by objective circumstances, but try to see how all the objective circumstances are actually conspiring for one purpose, to make us more Krishna conscious. That's the real conspiracy. That the Lord is plotting to make us more Krishna conscious, by hook or by crook. So we want to try and see things with that positive vision. Look deeper, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, and there we will find our friend. We go deeper. And how much beauty, right? How much growth comes out of difficulty, uncertainty, challenges. Gurudev, I remember Gurudev mentioned once, one cannot receive mercy in a relaxed mood. Cannot receive mercy in a relaxed mood. So sometimes we need these challenges to help draw out the mercy catching aspect of ourselves. Call out with more need, more hunger for the mercy of the Lord. And Kunti, Queen Kunti, right? She's the extreme example where she's praying for challenges, right? I wouldn't say I'm at that level yet, but I can worship that that mentality. I can theoretically appreciate that and worship that. She's actually praying for difficulties because she sees that difficulties bring Krishna closer. So we may not be there, but we can worship that. Happy to have you with us, Scarlett, and no worries about the camera. Well, I hope that was helpful, Angalila.
Yeah, very much, very much. Thank you so much. I love that. I actually took notes because it's so good, because I feel like what's really paining me is that some old conception, some old conditioning is coming up, and that is actually like what you mentioned about this old archive, the algorithm of my next thing, like responding to my challenge, and that is actually causing the overwhelm. And oh my God, that's so I can really take that as a very helpful hint, like it's my ego thinking, oh, this is what you do with it, you feel miserable, oh okay, just be miserable for a moment. And it's like, no, wait a minute, I started to do things different, like my inner narrator is actually really has been on my toes about this, going like, no, we do this different now, you remember? But I think it's like a new kind of pain, and that also is a bit overwhelming, but I feel like there's much less loss in it, in having these emotions, than maybe previously. So yeah, it's, thank you so much. It was yeah.
I appreciate what you said. I've had an experience too where like something happens and I respond in a particular way according to a way I used to respond. And I look at myself and think, wait, I don't think that anymore. Like, why did I say I don't think that anymore? It's just like some automatic response that's coming out, right?
Yeah, I feel like I have to move differently, otherwise I'll fall. And I still try to move in a way I'm just like, I can move in my sleep, but I no longer want to move as if I'm asleep. I want to be very aware of all of that. So it's very helpful. Thank you so much. I took notes.
Oh, I'm honored.
Because I need to hear it.
Well, we all feel privileged you shared your heart with us, Camila. Axel, great to have you with us, and you're on camera this time.
It's good to see you again, Vishaka.
Good to see you too, Axel. Anything you want to share in the meeting or any question you'd like to bring up?
Well, I have questions, but I'd rather let someone else ask a question. Because what Gangalila had asked is it's relating to my situation as well. So it's I will just take that and just practice it now. It's plenty for me for now.
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, this topic we discussed, this is something that is relevant to all of us. It's just part of like the daily struggle of the practitioner. So
I also took notes as well.
oh, okay. Well, I hope I didn't say anything wrong. And Ramananda Prabhu has also joined us. Welcome, Prabhu. Tungarasa is also with us.
Dandavas Vishakha Devi. Sorry, John, a little late.
Oh,
That's
no
nice. Thank you.
problem.
Yeah, I
Maybe
remember actually Guru Mai talk about mental mushrooms. So it reminded me like that. We have so many, like Ganga Lila was mentioning, we have so many impressions. I actually learned from some other institution, they say we have reactive mind. So we have to clean it. Yeah. I didn't know, but I learned we have many layers and we have reactive mind. So we have to by practice like Cheto Darpan Marjanam Bhavadam Agni Nirvapnam by chanting. The more we loud chant, then it goes away, it cleans the mirror. That's why Prabhupada say always chant loudly. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been listening to some other institution I go. They have nice Krishna Balram temple, so I join them sometimes. So they all chant nicely loud, so it helps. Yeah.
Well, it's a very
Thank
good
you.
point that Prabhu's made.
Yeah.
We also have to have faith in the purifying power of the practice, right? That, it's not just that we're kind of tolerating this old identity playing out, but we're also taking, the main point really is we're taking shelter in the positive. We're kind of like gradually disengaging with that negative, reactive mentality. And we're also plugging in to that positive current, right? And taking shelter of the holy name, taking shelter of Guru Vaishnava, taking shelter of a life of service. We are, and of course, Shravanam, right? Shravanam is the first practice, hearing. And it's actually so important, and we're so grateful Chinmoy Prabhu is doing the save of uploading these videos of Srila Govinda Maharaj and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Every time I watch one of those videos, it's just, I feel like so many problems are over, right? And there's this, suddenly the whole world makes sense again. Suddenly everything's properly adjusted, everything is in place. Suddenly there's clear perspective, right? Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he likes to use this expression, particularly in his last days we hear, religion means proper adjustment. Religion means proper adjustment. That's what we're lacking, right? And that's what a dynamic spiritual life is about, like constantly adjusting and readjusting our vision and relationship with the environment. Right? And getting proper perspective of everything in relationship to the real center, right? In connection to the real. And so this is why having the association, Dandavat Krishna Mohini, welcome. This is why having the association of a higher Vaishnava and hearing these talks coming from the pure Vaishnavas, they're so helpful. They're putting everything in proper perspective for us. And how many times have we experienced, right, that there's a problem which is really bothering us, and we tune into a talk from a Vaishnava, from our Gurudev, and when we finish the talk, suddenly it's like, what problem? It's not even an issue anymore. It's nothing. It's so remote to what's the real problem, what's the real issue, right? So like continually, regularly tapping in, tuning into that higher stream and getting that clarity, getting that real perspective, proper adjustment with the environment. It's so necessary, so crucial. So, that's very, very important for progressive spiritual life. I don't know if anyone else wants to bring up another question or comment, or maybe Chinmoy would like to add some words to this discussion.
I just want to say that it was something you touched on, I think is very helpful, the wait and see program of Gurudev. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the senses, they will come and go. These things are like clouds and in the sky, and they pass. And the yogi is one who can tolerate that, those passing senses. And I find that very helpful in my life. It's just, these emotions come over me, and if I just wait, then like you were saying, like you become the observer of those senses, and you just kind of let them do, go through your mind and stuff like that, but not react on them.
Very nice.
So yeah, the wait and see program is very effective.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Jayadev looks like he wants to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to add, in support of all of this. Well, first off, you dropped a bunch of bombs. I can't wait to hear the recording of this. I'm going to write some of those down. Those were good. And also I really love to relate science and Vedic thought, because the more we learn, the more Vedic thought is validated by what we find scientifically. So the subconscious mind is pattern based, whereas our conscious mind is connected with buddhi or will. So we can make choices with our conscious mind, but our subconscious is just running the patterns that we do. And the way to make a pattern or change it is repetition. Subconscious mind only understands, well, repetition or trauma. Trauma's a little tricky though. That's like psychedelics. Better to do repetition, which is like kind of supporting the idea of sadhana. And also that idea you were talking about, why am I still doing this thing? We've made a conscious choice to change the samskara, which is what I would call the imprints in the subconscious mind. We made that conscious choice, and it's mostly maybe rerouting, but every once in a while there's still that old groove, and you're getting to it. The groove's deep, and maybe you got like most of the groove, and there's just a little groove left, and you're running out that last samskara. So just kind of interfacing it and adding, fleshing that out. And I like that. When I get triggered by people, I'm going to use that. This person is just a side character, I think you said. Just because it diffuses their importance in my consciousness, and I'm a side character too. I'll have to remember that. So yeah, wonderful. I can't wait to hear the recording of this. I'm going to take notes.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Jayadev. Yeah, it's funny because unconsciously in these types of reactions, we're often we're making someone very important when they're not. Like, why are we giving them that level of, giving them that much credit, right? Like, why are they suddenly so important? Well, thank you for sharing that, Jayadev. That was a really, really nice overview of this topic. Well, anyone else want to bring up any other discussion for our meeting today?
May I say something, Vishakha Didi?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I heard Gurudev, actually, I was listening to Gurudev's lecture a few weeks ago. He said, we are doing everything, but because of offenses, we are not getting the nectar. So we have to avoid the 10 offenses. Because we're doing sadhana, we're doing everything, but knowingly or unknowingly, we committing some offenses, those against holy name, against Vaishnavas. Can you say something on that?
Yes. Well, there's a verse that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he quotes in this regard, and our Gurudev quotes it. It's published in Revealed Truth. I can't remember the verse. It's phrased in this very interesting way. It says that it's glorifying the holy name, right? And then it's saying that if one's heart has been hardened by offenses, then they will not quickly attain the fruit of chanting, something like that. So it's interesting because the implication is also there that they will eventually get it, but it won't be very quickly, right? You see, this is the thing, right? That this whole issue of offenses, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one place, he gives this very sweet analogy, like a child who has a weak immune system, right? A child is still like kind of building up their defense system, and they're more vulnerable to infection and disease, right? But as they grow, they become stronger, and they're able to fight, different viruses better, right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives this very kind of generous view. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I'm not sure if it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Srila Sridhar Maharaj kind of paraphrasing an idea of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But so it's a very sweet, generous view, right? And this is the way Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains it, that similarly in our position, you know, we're under the influence of mundane conditioning, and we have been since time immemorial, right? And so therefore, when we go to take, you know, the Lord's name, it is inevitable that we will be afflicted by various offenses. Our chanting will be infested by various types of offensive thinking, right? We just can't avoid that because we're under the influence of Maya, right? And mundane conceptions. But, you know, as we go on with our practice, our life of Sharanagati, our life of surrender, you know, Sadhu Sangha, Vaishnav Seva, and so on, then purification will develop and we'll become more and more cleared from these offenses, right? So our gurus, they have this kind of generous view, right? That we are simple, ignorant folk. And we can't help the fact that we are going to be, you know, like we hear this one, there's this one incident with it was, I don't know if I should tell the whole story, and I don't know if I should say the name, but perhaps just to simplify it, one devotee, they said, was like apologizing for something wrong. And they said it, they were kind of like talking in this like Indian American devotee speaking in like Indian English. You know, and there's a tendency to say one instead of a, I guess like definite article instead of indefinite article, right? I went to one shop, you know, or I went to eat one apple. And when you normally would say, you know, an apple or a shop or, so this one devotee apologized to our Gurudev about something and said, "Oh, Gurudev, I made one offense." Like that. It was the wrong time to use that. And so our Gurudev looks at him and says, "Oh, only one." Only one. So, you know, he could understand, you know, this devotee could understand, oh, yeah, actually, I'm not even aware of how many offenses I'm making, right? So yes, you know, we are covered by so many different layers of different types of offenses. But, you know, we are trying to go on. And this is, we can also say, right, this is one reason why our Gurudev emphasized the principles of humility, tolerance, and respect, right? This Trinadapi Sunichena. Because if we can conduct ourselves with this mood, then we will safeguard ourselves from making offenses. And we're also putting ourselves in a position so that we can learn to correct ourselves and outgrow some of these types of offenses that we're making, right? So, you know, we're like ignorant children, you know. There's one Sanskrit expression saying that the baby is passing stool on the lap of the mother, and the mother, she's okay, she's happy, no problem. So we are like in that situation, you know, in relation to our guardian, our divine guardians, our gurus, right? We can't help it. We're making a mess and we can't help it. But we're being treated like ignorant children, and it is normal and to be expected that we will make a mess. Right? But that doesn't mean that we won't try to cultivate the right mood, and that our guardians expect that one day we'll outgrow that. Right? So we are going on, right? We are like these babies, right? But we are going on, we're growing, we're learning. And keeping this mood of humility is very, very important. And we can also emphasize that the main offense, the most serious offense is Vaishnava aparat, right? To make offenses to the Vaishnavas, to the saints, to have a critical, envious mentality towards other practitioners. They may be small devotees or they may be big devotees. We don't know, actually, but whatever the case, both are dangerous for us. because it's a slippery slope. And our Gurudev, he mentioned one case where one advanced devotee, they fell down in their spiritual life because of making offenses to junior devotees, right? To junior practitioners. You know, anyone who has some, you know, small degree of devotion in their heart, you know, that small amount that counts for something, that is still something very valuable, right? And our Gurudev used to say, you know, I'm not afraid of anything except for Vaishnava aparad. And he said, if I see that someone has even a small amount of devotion, I'm afraid to make offense to them. So keeping this humble mood, respectful mood, tolerant mood, and moving in a gentle way, and remembering that we don't know who is who. We really don't know. We have to always defer to the unknown, right? We don't know who is who. And we don't want to project our acquired mundane prejudices upon our perspective on the environment. So there's always this healthy dose of uncertainty when we're navigating situations. And this is something, this idea you see in the, it's within the Vedic culture of like not knowing, you know, there's this kind of culture of like any unexpected like deva or sadhu can come to you in some very unexpected way, you know, like in Mahabharata, for example, there are many incidents like that where some deva comes in disguise or some great god comes in some hidden way, right? And so there's this mentality of like being careful. You don't know who's who. So trying to move in this way. And, you know, like really, we don't know who is who and what struggles persons are going through. And we don't always, you know, like there's that very nice analogy given. It's mentioned in Prapanajivanamrita, like the purging of dirt from something that's going through a process of purification and the emanation of dirt from something that's just dirty. Those are two very different things, right? Two very different. From the outside, they may look the same, but they're actually two completely different scenarios. So when we may see like fellow practitioners struggling in different ways with different, you know, behavioral patterns or habits, and we may feel that it isn't good to associate with them so closely, but we don't want to judge them, criticize them, right? We really don't know who is who and what is what. You know, as our Gurudev said, we don't know who's going up and who's coming down. You know, we don't know. So we move in a gentle way, sensitive way, right? We really want to avoid Vaishnava aparad at all costs, right? And everything else, you know, it will all come naturally, right? Our misconceptions, our attachments, everything will gradually, naturally be cleared, right? If we're continuing with the process. We're taking the medicine, we're following the prescriptions, we're trying to follow the prohibitions, right? Then gradually, everything will clear. But yes, that Vaishnava aparad, that is very, very dangerous.
Thank you very much, Vishakha Didi. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for bringing up that topic, Prabhu. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Yes, Jayadev.
Just a quick question. I've been working on memorizing the 10 offenses and I contextualize them and I have a couple different ways I'm doing it and it really works. But I was wondering, because Vaishnava aparad is first, are they in order of intensity of offense? So like first being the most destructive, because it goes, you know, the way it goes down, like those first four seem like the worst. The middle ones are kind of iffy. And then you have like preaching to the faithless, which could happen while you're doing Harinam. Like, a lot of those seem like, has it been said anywhere there's an order to them, that it means something?
I mean, I haven't heard that. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I would say that the first one is definitely the most important, but I don't know if the order in the case of the others is reflecting their degree of importance. I don't know if anyone else has heard anything about that. Maybe you can remind us the 10 offenses, or at least me. I don't have it all.
Okay, and here's my memorization strategy. Madhusudan Maharaj said to everyone to memorize them, and I was like, I'm so offensive. Maybe if I memorize the offenses, it'll help. So the first one is Vaishnava Aparad, right? Don't offend the Vaishnavas. The second one is not to consider Krishna on the same platform as all the other devas. Like, he's the supreme absolute. The third one is do not disobey the instructions of the spiritual master. And then the fourth one is do not offend the holy Shastra, like Shastra Aparad, right? And then you have this cluster. So those four, I feel like, go together. Then you have this cluster of do not consider the glories of the holy name exaggeration, and do not give some interpretation of the holy name. So exaggeration, interpretation kind of fit in that little middle chunk. And then the last four, this is where I get lost, but it eventually comes to me. So bracketed on either side, the beginning of the last four is do not commit sins on the strength of the holy name. And how I remember it is at the bottom, the last one is do not maintain material attachments. And then the middle two, let's see. This is the one I always forget. Do not preach to the faithless is the 9th one. The 8th one is,
it's
God.
Pious activity is equal.
Pious activity. Yeah. And then I thought that's right. And so my new thing I did just recently, in a way, what was it? Committing sins on the strength of the holy name and piety, they're kind of related because, in the story of Ajamil, the elephant, taking a bath and getting dirty again, that idea of mundane piety is only a temporary fix. So in a way, committing sins on the strength of the holy name and using the holy name as a not purificatory on a bhakti level, but as a mundane piety purificatory, or what is it called? So those two are kind of work together. And then preaching to the faithless, and then maintaining, like, I also feel like the bottom one is the hardest one in some ways to get rid of, because it's like, I don't know, material attachments, at least for me. Well, and then the top ones just seem so serious.
No fair. It's like, that's just not fair.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was wondering if they're in order of, and also the same with preaching to the faithless. If you're going to go out on Harinam, how much of that comes into play, where you're giving the holy name, or you're doing Harinam and you're preaching to a bunch of, people who are committed to the impersonal conception, let's say, like, is that creating a reaction? So those ones at the bottom seem very hard to avoid.
Well,
anyways,
another way, there are different ways of interpreting these as well. And like that one about preaching to the faithless, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, okay, yeah, on one level it could mean just like trying to like force someone to hear it when they don't want to. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj also gave this other interesting explanation that it can mean like going out trying to preach in a wide scale way, but with the intention of spreading your own prestige and like taking many disciples, but not because you're actually concerned about their spiritual upliftment, but it turns into more of this pratishta game.
Transactional kind of, yeah, that makes sense.
So he said, Srila Sridhar Maharaj also gave that explanation. Yeah, and that last one, Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they've given a very, you've probably heard it, they've given a very wonderful explanation of it. That, that one's heart does not melt in divine love, right? You read that one, you're like, I don't have any control over that. Like, how does that even count, right? But Srila Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave this very wonderful explanation that of course, it's still difficult to actually practice, but that what it actually means is that we are resisting the current. That because actually, like Krishna, we can't actually get anywhere on our own. It's really down to them in the end. And the offense is that we are resisting that current, right? That we are inviting the holy name into our lives. And then the Lord, in different ways, is trying to bring us in. But we are resisting that in different ways, right? We're putting up the blocks and we're resisting the different movements that are trying to bring us closer to the lotus feet of Krishna. And so then that analogy is given of the anchor, right? Like we're trying to row the boat, but we're anchored down, right? So similarly, the Lord is trying to take us to him, but we're putting up the block, right? And that's actually what the offense is. So simply kind of being in the state of cooperation with any movement that's trying to make us more Krishna conscious, having this openness about ourselves, not being too rigid in our mundane conceptions and mundane attachments. This will help us, but being ready, having this flexibility, right, to move with the higher will and the higher current, to cooperate with that, cooperate with Krishna's plan. He'll make the plan. We just have to cooperate. I like what one thing Srila Prabhupada used to say, like 90% of it's just about showing up. Right? There's a program happening, just show up, just be present, participate, right? And then this is also reminding me, we hear, there are so many lists, right? And then we also hear about these 64 practices of devotion. And like really everything comes down to the Vaishnava, right? And our relationship with the Vaishnava, not offending the Vaishnava on the negative side, but then surrendering to the Vaishnava on the positive side, right? And so in those 64 practices of devotion, the first one is Guru Padashray, right? To take shelter of Guru. And our Gurudev said, this is the most important one. And everything after that is minor. That's the most important one. And today in our morning reading, we started the Ramananda Samvad and Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? This landmark discussion between Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Rai. And this one of the points, that one of the stages that comes, the stages of theistic development that comes up is this Krishna Karmarpan, right? To offer everything to Krishna. And which Mahaprabhu rejects, right? And why? From this angle, that first we offer ourselves, first we offer our intention, and then we actually do. And then there's that famous comment of the commentator Sridhar Swami, right? Ado arpita paschad kriyeta. First we offer, then we do, right? So really, everything really comes down to the relationship with the Vaishnava. And so, right, on the negative side, not to make offense, not to criticize, that will stop us from going down, right? But then to actually progress, we want to appreciate the Vaishnava, serve the Vaishnava, surrender to the Vaishnava. So it all comes down to that, really. Our relationship with the Vaishnava. And so we feel very blessed, we have the connection of such an exalted soul, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. To meet a pure Vaishnava, it is a rare thing, actually. And we're fortunate now we can continue to try to serve him and serve his servants and the servants of the servants of his servants. And try to continue his holy mission in this world according to our humble capacity, right? We are following in the wake of such a great Vaishnava. That is the wealth of our life, right? Well, maybe we'll stop there for today. Anyone have any last comments before we close today?
Thank you very much, Vishakha Didi. That was good. I think I heard Guru Maharaj, he said, we have faith in Lord, but we don't have, it's hard to develop faith in the Vaishnavas. And I seen that with Gurudev. Gurudev tried to tell, see, sincerity and chastity, sincerity and chastity. I was lucky Gurudev came to our house 2-3 times. I was able to, but I didn't, I tried to serve, but it was kind of, I don't know, so crazy. So many other impediments. Yeah. Thank you so much again. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're fortunate because we've, by the grace of our gurus, we've been invited into this deeper understanding of what Vaishnavism is, right? And our Gurudev, I always remember how I mentioned once, like a general understanding of Vaishnavism is to serve, worship Vishnu, right? But then deeper understanding of Vaishnavism is that you are worshiping the devotee of Vishnu or Krishna, right? This is a more developed, more mature understanding. And whenever you hear someone mention their stance in this regard, then you can understand where they are, right? Because you'll hear that sometimes. Oh, we are worshiping Krishna directly, or we are directly devotees of Mahaprabhu, and we don't need any guru, or so on. Then you understand. Oh, okay, this is where they are, right? So we are fortunate. We've been blessed with that understanding. This is a more developed connection with the Lord, actually, entering the family of the Lord, appreciating those who are surrounding the Lord, right? So, Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, all the assembled devotees, sincere seekers Ki Jai, Jai Chinmoy Dev Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Jai Lord Premanande, Hari Bol.
Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Until next time.
Jai Jai Jai. Thank you.
Dhanavads. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Dhanavads.